Welcome to Magical Moruga! Welcome everyone to Magical Moruga. My name is Mark Forgini and I'm here with the Moruga Hill Rice. This I have the Bongo Farina Hill Rice variety which grows on dry land, as you can see. It grows just like a grass, but it produces one of the most nutritious foods in the world. A natural wild rice with iron, vitamin C, calcium. 4 years ago, thanks to the REACH project, we were selected after the Trinidad arm of the project to take our product to Barbados for the semi-regional competition where we were up against products from Guyana, Belize, Jamaica, Barbados, St. Lucia, Guyana, all demonstrating their potential for innovative new agricultural products.
The REACH project stands for the Regional Entrepreneurial Asset Commercialization Hub, and it basically deals with improving the commercialization capabilities of Caribbean firms through training and development programs. And this is intended to help monetize intellectual property rights and intangible entrepreneurial assets, such as patents and copyrights. And in the long run, if this is done, it is intended to improve innovation and productivity and drive economic growth and competitiveness.
The project commenced in 2015 with a grant from the Inter-American Development Bank. The executing agency is the University of the West Indies. It's a regional project, therefore the participating countries were Barbados, Belize, Suriname, Jamaica, and Trinidad and Tobago.
WIPO commercialization of intellectual property fits right into the whole approach with respect to facilitating the use of intellectual property for development. And WIPO saw two key areas within the REACH project that it could collaborate effectively to demonstrate how intellectual property could be commercialized. One, technology transfer and commercialization of intellectual property, a project, and product branding.
There were 4 components to the project. The first component was the landscape analysis and survey. The second component was stakeholder sensitization. The third component, building commercialization capacities for public and private stakeholders. And the fourth component dealt with sustaining implementation of REACH.
My whole thing has always been that the biggest problem in the Caribbean has been the difficulty that entrepreneurs face in getting the kind of support, both financial as well as institutional and other kinds of support to move forward on their ventures.
The ideas for ecotourism and the finessing of those ideas to show the beauty of wild Moruga. The soils, the birds, the trees, all came out of the discussions in the REACH program, where it was iron sharpening iron. It was interactive, it was heated at times, but it was always educational. And we were pushed to further open up our minds and broaden our perspectives about what is it we really have. Is it just the rice, or is it actually the culture and the beauty of magical Moruga?
Moruga Hills Rice was an extremely interesting producer group to work with. He came in not necessarily looking at intellectual property, but by the end of it, he saw the value of having a trademark and eventually a a geographical indication for the rice that he produced in a specific region in Trinidad and Tobago, and trying, just like tequila and Blue Mountain coffee, to come up with the characteristics and the quality that make Moruga Hill rice that cannot be found in other areas, and gives it that competitive advantage and that distinctiveness in the marketplace. So he has already applied for a trademark.
How do we take SMEs, micro enterprises, from where they are currently to where they use their intangible assets, the intellectual property assets, if you want, to create greater value for their company? Several things that are linked: the business strategy, the recognition of the IP assets, and your competitiveness on the market. How do you actually link all of that? Now, what we will find is that within the region, maybe the bigger companies, the Graces of the region, etc., they have an understanding of that because they can employ several lawyers, etc., in order to get all that straightened out. But then you have a lot of emerging micro enterprises, small businesses that are not yet fully aware of what the intangible assets are.
Between REACH, the visit to Japan, liaising with the engineers in China, that we eventually came up with a solution that would allow us to get the majority of the grains whole and whole bran, yeah, which is where the value in the rice is.
There was a series of seminars that dealt with technology licensing. There was also training in relation to the creative industries. In this regard, there was a film incubator program that was done by Caribbean Tales.
Caribbean Tales was a partner of the first year of the REACH project when they supported our incubator program in Canada, including the pitch breakfast. The participants were able to come to Canada and participate in an intensive incubator program over 4 days, and then to take part in a pitch breakfast where they pitched their projects to international funders and buyers. The participants were able to hone their projects. They were able to develop their pitches, to understand their projects better with the support of mentors. They were able to meet lots of other Caribbean filmmakers and develop hopefully co-ventures with them. The support that we got from the REACH program was not just financial, it was also knowing that there was an understanding of the value of developing our own stories within an international context. That kind of understanding support is critical to the development of our industry, and I can't thank the REACH program enough.
Several participants indicated that they benefited tremendously from the training provided. Many people are aware of the intellectual property in the context that, okay, they have a brand, they may have an invention, but generally, sometimes they actually don't take the next step, whereby in the first instance, they seek to register their intellectual property. And then after they register the intellectual property, they have to ensure that they enter into licensing agreements with third parties in order to be able to authorize another entity to use their intellectual property.
I expected to have been there with primarily entrepreneurs from across the region. And when I got there, the focus was on the World Intellectual Property and Organization. So it was really focusing on intellectual property and how to properly monetize and to understand the importance of protecting ideas and creativity. As a creative entrepreneur, talking about the importance and the different types of intellectual property. So we got an opportunity to liaise with really knowledgeable experts in the field, very, very knowledgeable. We got to understand the importance of this. We also got to understand, be able to network, because it was actually because of the REACH program, I was able to network with important people in Trinidad because Rev Jewelry started to export items to Trinidad, and I didn't necessarily have any IP protection there. But the Trinidad and Tobago intellectual property, I think managing director or someone was a part of that group. And I was able to meet with her, speak with her, find out how we could go about processing IP property for Rev Jewelry. It was really informative. It was really powerful. I got to talk to other entrepreneurs from other islands like Barbados and other countries like Suriname and wherever it was. But it was really, really, really good. I really enjoyed it.
Component that I was involved in was dealing with developing, actually looking at some of these companies and being able to develop intellectual property business cases from these companies. We're taking a look at how these companies have actually created their intangible assets and how they protect them and how they're going about in different ways to actually enhance their competitiveness, enhance their profitability through developing a management system for those IP assets.
Over the past couple of years, I've been involved in the REACH project from its inception. This project has been driven by the Office of Research, Development and Knowledge Transfer of the University of the West Indies. And since then, since inception to now, I've been part of the project in terms of training that was done initially by the Danish Technological Institute. A number of our academics across the university and different campuses have been trained in terms of developing the business model canvas as well as the value proposition canvas. This is a methodology used to train students generally in terms of developing business opportunities through the process of customer discovery and developing ideas and business templates.
What it also has done is it's given my students the opportunity to see how Caribbean companies are actually using those assets. And I find that they were actually excited because it's at home, it's close to their doorsteps, and as opposed to using something that they can't really necessarily connect with immediately.
Two main impacts stood out. One was that there was an increased interaction between Caribbean and Latin American entrepreneurs and the entrepreneurship enabling agencies. And that relationship has the potential to open up the access to the Latin American market. A second impact was that some of the training that was developed under the REACH program is actually intended to be incorporated into some of UWI's academic programs, which is a positive impact on the education system because you get students to think differently and creatively and be more innovative from an earlier stage.
A significant milestone also was the ability to bring together people across the region in terms of similar mindsets to help develop entrepreneurs across the different islands, but using one model. And I think that has been one of the most significant aspects.
I was a part of the REACH program maybe about a year ago. And from what I recall, it may have been over a span of 2 months. And so we had these webinars and I was able to virtually meet a lot of the other designers regionally, you know, hear their stories, get a little perspective from them about the fashion industry in their respective areas. So at the end of the program, a few of us were chosen to actually go to Barbados. We were given the opportunity to pitch our business model and business ideas to investors. I found that to be a really good experience. How are you going to really pitch your ideas and pitch your business plan to an investor? So it was a good experience. And also, I have to say the networking was very special for me because we got a lot of information out of it. I have to say everybody, all the other designers regionally, they were very open with all their information as far as suppliers and manufacturers in the region as well as internationally, New York, etc. So we got a lot of information and we did follow through.
Understanding copyright in terms of design was crucial for me, and it helped me to filter my designing process and learn how to manipulate my design in such that I can say, okay, this aspect of my design is ready to have a copyright nature element to it, and therefore I can make it more commercially ready, and I can, you know, making more money than I would have before, prior to understanding this whole idea of copywriting and intellectual property and so forth.
So YVT and Reach partnered to launch the Caribbean Innovation Competition. What is the Caribbean Innovation Competition? It's a platform to support entrepreneurs to access to mentoring, resources, and different tools in order to take to the market their business ideas. Through the Caribbean Innovation Competition, we were able to support hundreds of entrepreneurs in the region through different platforms and programs that provided them with content and tools in order to develop their businesses. The business labs are trainings for entrepreneurs on how to create a business by creating the business. That's why the name is a lab. So we developed a Training of Trainers business lab in various countries in the Caribbean. And the objective was that these trainers were able to work with entrepreneurs. So the competition was a way to identify, support, and fund businesses that were part of Reach. We provided content through the online training component, which was called Bootcamp, the Business Opportunity Online Training. We had, during the time that we were implementing these components for Reach, 2 editions of the Caribbean Innovation Competition. And these 2 editions accounted for hundreds of entrepreneurs that participated in the online trainings, the on-site trainings, and then became, some of them, the finalists, and then we had the winners.
How to deal with the important subject of intellectual property. Then directly related to that goal was the notion of having a permanent platform, so that once the IDB funding was depleted, this would not just go away, but it would remain somehow as a permanent resource.
Presently, we are in the final stage of the project, whereby we are creating a white label solution for the Reach platform. There's a document library whereby you can actually access all the different training materials that the participants were exposed to over the period of time during the project.
So the Reach platform can be found at www.reachplatform.net. Now that the project has essentially come to a close, the major benefit of the project is this link to webinars and resources.
So I definitely see the value in having gone through the whole Reach project in terms of the advantages it has brought to practitioners, to companies, and really I do think that we should look to do it on a bigger scale within the region so we can touch more companies.
Really thank Kayla, Tine, Lauren, as well as the mentors. As I said, coaching was very important. They had excellent coaches, Steve, Casper, Mike, Edmund, Johnny, Wendy, Henning, and the participants as well. You know, they just drove us, they motivated us tremendously. And I think that went a long way to making this whole project an extremely interesting experience and journey for me. So thanks for reaching out, because this was good. I've never had one like that before, and I'm looking forward to the next.